Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're having a wonderful week. Like always, I'm continuing with my Whitney Houston discography journey, and I will say we are kind of wrapping things up. We are reaching the end of this discography journey. Today, we'll be checking out her fifth studio album from 2002 called Just Whitney. And then once I'm done listening to this album, I only have one more studio album to listen to, and it's her last studio album from 2009 called I Look to You. And then we will be done. However, in 2003, a year after this album, Just Whitney from 2002, she did release a 2003 Christmas album called One Wish, the Holiday Album, which I will be listening to for the first time. I won't be listening to it right now, but I have plans on listening to it this coming holiday season in about November or December. I don't really know, but closer to Christmas, I will be listening to this album. And I will also be doing a compilation video of songs that she released on her greatest hits albums, her compilation albums, just random bonus tracks here and there that I haven't heard yet from Whitney Houston. So I made this playlist of about, 10 songs. So I will also be doing that video before I move on to her final album, I Look to You. So that's pretty much the plan when it comes to the future of this discography journey. There aren't a lot of videos left, so we're wrapping things up. And I'm excited to dig into this album right here. And looking at the track list, there are 10 tracks, and the album is 40 minutes, so it's quite short compared to some of her other albums. I am looking at the track list, and none of the songs look familiar to me. I don't think I've heard any of these songs before, but like always, if I start listening to a song and it sounds familiar, I'll let you guys know. And what's interesting about this album is that it was her first studio album released after signing a $100 million contract. Let me repeat that. A $100 million contract with Arista Records in 2001, the largest recording contract for a female artist at the time. And because of the curious and inquisitive mind that I do have, I do want to check out the other biggest recording contracts of all time. So it looks like back in 1992, Prince signed a $100 million recording contract. And then we have Whitney Houston at number 9. Prince was number 10. Whitney Houston's $100 million contract. And then we have Madonna with $120 million back in 2012, so that was quite recent. And then we have Robbie Williams at number 7 with $125 million in 2002. And then in at number 6, we have Adele with $130 million. Hers is the most recent in 2016, 4 years ago. And then wrapping up the top 5, we have Bruce Springsteen with $150 million in 2005. And then we have Jay-Z in at number 4 with $150 million, 2008. This is exciting. Lil Wayne, $150 million, 2012. And then number 2, we have U2 with $200 million back in 1993. And then the number 1 spot, I'm thinking I know who the number 1 spot is. Michael Jackson, $250 $250 million back in 2010, 10 years ago. But enough of that money talk. Let's get into the album. Just Whitney, track number 1, One of Those Days. Okay, and that was track number 1, One of Those Days, and I really like this song. It's such a great, optimistic, feel-good song, and It just put me in a good mood. It made me feel so warm inside. Just the lyrics that she is singing in the song. She's talking about relaxing and getting a massage, having a bubble bath, when you're cruising in your car and I might just see the stars and it's warm outside and beautiful and the simple things are not wasted. This is just such a happy, optimistic song and I really enjoyed listening to it. It's also catchy as hell, I will say. This is one of those songs you play when, I don't know, maybe you were working a 9 to 5 shift and you're tired, you just want to get home, you're in your car, you're stuck in traffic, you put this song on, it just puts a smile on your face. It just makes you feel so good, especially when it's a Friday. When it's a Friday and you're coming home from work and you don't work on the weekend, and you have the whole weekend ahead of you, you get to do whatever you want, and you're just excited. You get to have some wine, have a bubble bath, just relax, watch your favorite TV show. That's what I was getting from this song. It's been one of those crazy weeks, and I gotta do something special for me. See, hit the salon, get a mani and a pedi, have a massage, get a sip, and I'm ready. What I would give to have a massage right now. Oh. So if any of you watching right now is a massage therapist, please, I desperately need one. So now let's move on to track number 2, Tell Me No.
You criticize my actions, but I don't see you standing in my shoes. I'm going the wrong way, I'm doing the wrong things. Every word just gives me tell me no. I think my feet right in. Tell me no. Tell me no. No, 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 no. Tell me no.
Yeah. Okay, and that was track number 2, Tell Me No. That ended with the electric guitar. I love a good electric guitar solo. Oh my god. I wasn't expecting that. It was great. I really enjoyed this song. I don't know if it's just me, but this album so far, 2 tracks in, it definitely sounds more pop than her prior album, My Love Is Your Love. And going into this album, I was aware that a lot of people think this is one of her weakest albums, if not her weakest album. I know a lot of people don't like it. Some people call this album a mess, and it's absolutely horrible. I mean, the album itself did receive mixed reviews as well. But 2 tracks in, I'm enjoying it. But anyway, let's move on to track number 3, Things You Say.
Such a pleasure loving you. I listen to the things you say. Things you say. You're calling me. Oh, oh. I listen to the things you say to me, baby. But there's one thing I have to tell you, boy. I dig your actions, but I love your words. In a song or a song, serenade every word that you say. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, and that was track number 3, Things You Say. I wasn't the biggest fan of this song. I felt like it was kind of, I don't know, I couldn't really get into it. I was kind of bored of it. I liked it the more I listened to it. By the end of the song, I actually kind of liked it. But as a whole, I don't know if this would be a song I would really listen to again. Her voice definitely isn't what it used to be. Just comparing her vocals on this album to her prior album from 1998, My Love Is Your Love, there is a clear difference, and it's a little unfortunate. So now we will move on to track number 4, My Love, featuring Bobby Brown.
Alright. Some girls just wanna spend God's money, live their life chasing the milk and honey. In the coldest Georgia rain, see my love is like an open sky. See my heart is like the river. So tell everybody that you're glad you got me. Just in my love, my L-O-V.
Okay, and that was track number 4, My Love, featuring Bobby Brown. I actually like this song. I did find the song strangely catchy. I kind of did get stuck in my head, and I thought it was pretty cool. So far, we are 4 tracks into the album, and I think it's pretty decent. I mean, that's my opinion. It's not her most memorable album. I do think it's a little lackluster. It's kind of lacking something. I can't really put my finger on it. I don't know if it's energy, but it just seems a little hollow compared to her other albums. I don't know if it has to do with her voice, but there's just something missing from this album. It doesn't have the same spark like her other albums from the 90s and the 80s. So now let's move on to track number 5, Love That Mad.
Things just ain't the way that they used to be. Back in the day when the man and security. Things ain't the way they used to be. Don't you love like me? It's just the way it seems to be. What I do, take the show.
Okay, and that was track number 5, Love That Mad, and this was a lot of fun to listen to. I don't know if you could tell, I was just bouncing up and down on my yoga ball, and I was having a lot of fun to this song. This does feel like a happy, optimistic, playful album. I'm having fun listening to it. She does seem to be in high spirits as she's singing these songs, and just reading some of the lyrics as well, just the tone of her voice, she does sound happy. Whether that's the case, I don't know. I don't know what was happening in Whitney Houston's life back in 2002. So I just typed in Whitney Houston 2002 into Google and this popped up. Whitney Houston tells Diane Sawyer crack is whack. The infamous 2002 interview dealt with the singer's struggles with drug use.
We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack.
In a rare interview, Houston told Prime Time's Diane Sawyer that she has used alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, and prescription drugs at different points during her career. She says, I partied a lot. Trust me, I partied my tail off. You get to a point where you know the party's over. She also made an appearance at Michael Jackson's tribute concert last year. Now, when they say last year, this interview was 2002, so I imagine they're talking about 2001. Her bone-thin appearance and unsteady stance provoked audible gasps from the audience and raised questions about her health. I did see videos and images of Whitney Houston during this time where she was very thin, scary thin, and you could tell she just wasn't healthy and that she was quite sick.
Anorexia,
No way.
they've written it.
No way.
Bulimia,
No way.
that it's because of drugs.
No.
So I don't know if she's just bullshitting or just in denial. I don't know what's true and what isn't. From what I've seen, the images and some of the videos of her appearing very thin and very weird, she seemed very eccentric and just very odd. So what are your guys' take on this situation back in 2002? She also faced a drug possession charge in January 2000 after an airport guard in Hawaii allegedly found marijuana in her handbag. She also denied to the tabloids about using crack cocaine. Crack is cheap. I make too much for me to ever smoke crack, she said. Let's get that straight. I don't do crack. I don't do that. Crack is whack. I mean, I could keep going on and on. I'm sorry if this is bothering you or you're not interested in what I'm talking about right now, but I'm finding this very fascinating. I always love learning about someone's life, and it doesn't have to be a celebrity. It could just be anyone. I'm just fascinated about people's lives and where they come from. She also goes on to talk about her marriage with Bobby Brown, how people said that they didn't think it would last. They didn't give us 6 minutes to last, she recalled, adding, we've got 10 years. So she was married 10 years at this point in 2002. People didn't think they would last. This goes back to her prior album for My Love Is Your Love, where she does touch on this, where people didn't think they would last, but they did somehow. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on and on, but I'm gonna stop there. I do love falling down these rabbit holes of a musician's life because For me, it just enhances the experience of listening to a particular album. I get to understand where they came from and where they're headed, what they've gone through. So now let's move on to track number 6, Try It On My Own.
Not the foolish girl you used to know. And I am not afraid to try. I'll live my life the way I feel. No matter what, I'll keep it real. And I am not afraid to try. I'm taking names, don't worry why. Time for me to do it. Say you're not
Okay, and that was track number 6, Try It On My Own. I got a little emotional there, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I really enjoyed this song. It's definitely one of the highlights for me. It's one of the best tracks on the album, in my opinion. And though her voice isn't as powerful as it once was, she still sounds great. I think the reason why I got a bit emotional as I was listening to that song, because I did just a little bit, it's because I just read that information from the Diane Sawyer interview, and with that stuff and that information still fresh in my mind, I was listening to this song and it just kind of all clicked together, and it was just a cannonball and just an explosion of emotion right there. Now I'm feeling a little sad. I was on this high of happiness and feeling joyful at the beginning of this album. Now I'm feeling a little sad. Okay, now let's move on to track number 7, Dear John Letter.
I'm sitting here in my own head, thinking how you could be staring at me. But I always fail to mention, 'cause you know I really don't like to fuss. Sometimes I wanna hit the door. I'm writing you, dear John. Sometimes I think that I've had enough. When I don't check myself, I get frustrated with you. Dear John, I tried to stay, never got better. I couldn't tell you face to face,
Okay, and that was track number 7, Dear John Letter. I pretty much stopped listening to this song halfway through. It's definitely my least favorite track on the album, and this is probably one of my least favorite Whitney Houston songs ever. It's pretty bad, and I actually hated it. I thought it was boring. I thought it was filler. There was nothing interesting about this song. It was just horrible. And very rarely do I use the word horrible for a song. I almost never use that word. But I don't know if I'm overreacting, but I did not like this song at all. I already forgot what it sounded like. So anyway, let's move on to track number 8, Unashamed.
every time I stop like signaled, each time I make mistakes. See is what you get. Unashamed of the life I lead, unashamed of the strength of my knees, choices I made, the love that I say, of things I have done, my belief in the one. Unashamed of the words of my friends, I know who they are, make mistakes, make amends.
Okay, and that was track number 8, Unashamed. She's saying, unashamed of the life I led, unashamed of the strength on my knees. Say what you want, the choices I've made, of the love that I've saved. So I like the story behind the song and what she has to say, but I don't know if this would be a Whitney Houston song I would go back to. I probably wouldn't listen to it again. Just like some of the other tracks on this album that I've already listened to, I just didn't think this track was very memorable. So now let's move on to track number 9, You Light Up My Life. Yes! That's what I'm talking about. So, remember how at the beginning I said that her voice didn't sound as powerful as it did on some of her other albums? She proved me wrong on this track. I mean, she sounded great. I need to go back to that one part. You know the part I'm talking about. I need to listen to it again. You know what? She still got it. She still got it. So it looks like this song is a cover of the song from the soundtrack You Light Up My Life from 1977. This is definitely one of my favorite tracks on the album. It's just a great song. So we have come to the end of the album, ladies and gentlemen. Track number 10, what you're looking at. Okay, that was track number 10, what you're looking at. This song was all kinds of no. I'm sorry. It wasn't doing it for me. It sounds like a song Christina Aguilera would have rejected, or it sounds like a Destiny's Child Beyonce reject. It sounds like a song that's better suited for a girl group, like a filler track. It doesn't sound like a lead single from an album. And this was the lead single from the album, which, I don't know. I mean, obviously she was trying to compete with the other pop girls at the time. It doesn't sound like a Whitney Houston song. I am a little confused as to why it's at the very bottom of the track list. I don't know why it's the last song on the album. Even though I didn't like this song, it definitely should have been at the top of the track list, maybe even the opening track. It just doesn't go with the rest of the album. It just doesn't sound good. And it was also disappointing that this was the song that followed up The Light of My Life. And I am reading here that it only peaked at 96 on the US Billboard Hot 100, which I think is pretty bad for a lead single from such a prominent artist like Whitney Houston. However, it looks like the dance charts were eating it up because it did peak at number 1 on the US Dance Club Play Singles. And it did peak at number 3 in Canada, and I do live in Canada, so apparently Canadians really loved this song. Or maybe Canadians are just easier to please. So that is all 10 tracks of Just Whitney from 2002, and just to be honest with you guys, going into this album, I didn't have high hopes just from what people have said about this album. I did like the album more than I thought I would. I was pleasantly surprised. I will say I did prefer the first half to the second half of this album. I didn't think the second half of this album was very good, except for track number 9, You Light Up My Life. That was an exception. My favorite tracks on the album, definitely hands down, track number 6, Try It On My Own, and track number 9, You Light Up My Life. I also really liked Tell Me No and One of Those Days and My Love featuring Bobby Brown. So I did end up liking half of the album, But the tracks I didn't like are tracks that I really did like. For example, Dear John Letter, I absolutely hated, and What You're Looking At. I mean, I can now see why some people think that this album is a little bit of a mess, but there are still a lot of songs on here that I would go back to that I really enjoyed. To me, the highlights of this album were the melodies and the hooks of some of the songs, which were catchy, and she surprised me with her vocals, and she does sound good on this album. She just doesn't sound as great as she used to. And I didn't really like the lyrics. I don't think the lyrics are that memorable. They didn't really resonate with me. I also didn't think the production of the album was very memorable as well. It did sound like a typical pop R&B sounding album from 2002. I just feel like this album is very safe. It was a very safe album. So what did you guys think of the album? What are your favorite tracks? Maybe you loved this album and you think I'm crazy. Tell me why. Maybe you absolutely despise this album and you think it's horrible. Again, tell me why. And I think that's all I want to say on the album. In my next Whitney Houston video, I will be moving on to the compilation playlist that I created of songs that I haven't heard yet from her from various greatest hits albums and compilation albums, songs from other movies she did. And then after that compilation video, we'll move on to the final Whitney Houston video of this series, which is I Look to You. And then I will reopen this discography journey in November or December when I check out her Christmas album, One Wish, the holiday album from 2003. So officially, I think that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching, guys. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can message me, you can tell me other artists I should check out. I'm open to any artist from any decade. You can find me on Apple Music, you can check out my playlist, and so on and so forth. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.